What's up, Internet? We are here with something I've actually been meaning to do for a while. Whoops. So we're continuing my Pokemon adventure. Here's the deal. I planned to do this back in February at the 1-year anniversary of starting this whole thing, but, oh, hey, it actually went into the new game menu. That's sort of the thing. I was having some technical issues. In fact, as of about an hour ago, I was still having technical issues where it would just freeze every time I put it on my RF. I have no idea why. Could be that I'm just overloading its memory card. I don't know. So this could go all kinds of wrong very, very quickly. Hopefully not. But anyway, we have completed our gritty, edgy, grimdark chapter of Revenge, where we once again proved that we were at the very best, like no one ever was, by pushing a guy off a mountain. And to balance out how gritty and grimdark that was, we now have to have a fun, goofy, not a care in the world, good time of an arc. And that is Chapter 3, where, once again, we are on an adventure, but we're more on vacation than anything. We're just happen to win ourselves a trip and a vacation home in Hoenn, but unfortunately, Hoenn is kind of like Australia. Aside from the fact it has giant spiders, it also has platypuses and also really strict external flora and fauna restrictions. So, unfortunately, our team of Luna, our team of Darkwing Duck, our good friend Cinder, and all the others are holding down the forts back in Johto, making sure that Vafuumon doesn't act up too bad. Unfortunately, this means that we have no Pokemon, and therefore I guess this is going to be a very quick thing where we're just not going to do very much in terms of actual Pokemon. We're just going to hang out, really. Never leave our house. You know how it is. It's vacations. But here we are in Hoenn, in Pokemon Ruby, my favorite Pokemon game. And it has been way too long since I've played this game. I'm very excited indeed. But since we're moving into our vacation home, we do have to, you know, actually move. So let's do that first. I don't know why they let us sit in the moving truck. Also, I'm not sure where this truck exactly came from. It's clear we came from Johto. Like, even within the actual canonness of the game, we did come from Johto. Somehow a truck just drove from there, even though we are very clearly, like, on the ocean. It's a hydro truck. They just have those in Pokemon because reasons. Alright, let's go set the clock. See? Even the game can't evolve their Machokes. That's a tacit admission that the whole Machamp evolution is bullshit. Anyway, let's set the clock. It's currently 4:41 a.m. I should be in bed. I should have done this a lot sooner, but again, technical problems. Oh, nope. About there-ish. Now, granted, I'm playing this on the RF, so the clock is going to be desynced like immediately, but still. We are here to enjoy our time playing the GameCube in our room, which has a Game Boy Advance hooked up as a second controller. And speaking as someone who actually has that hookup for a Game Boy Advance and a Game Boy Advance, I've never actually seen a game on the GameCube that actually can use the Game Boy Advance as a second controller. Like, that is just... I think that is a falsehood. Like, that is just not a thing that happened. I could be wrong, of course, but I just... in my entire expansive knowledge of this system, that was something that was always proposed but never actually happened. But we are here to go meet our next door neighbor. And this is where rivals get a little weird. Because, first of all, we can't name her, and second of all, she's a friend. And also, she doesn't fight you very much. I think you fight her, like, twice in the entire game, and you never see the third evolution of her starter. So, regardless of whether or not you pick any of the starters, she always has a gap because of her incompetence and lack of challenging you that allows you to actually complete your Pokedex, at least from a viewed perspective. Uh-oh, someone's in trouble. Now, we could help him, but again, we're on vacation. We're not here for adventure. We're just gonna go back to our room and just chill and play some GameCube. No, of course, we gotta go help him. So let's go get his bag. Now, here's where we get to pick our monsters. So first we get a tiny mud scamp, a vegetable, and finally, a cross between a flamethrower and a chicken. I think it's pretty safe to say that once again, you always go with the fire type. So we're gonna go with Torchic, because why would you not go with Torchic? Torchic's the best starter in this game. Although Torchic is like, its evolution chain is the argument of why there needs to be like triple types, because Torchic is a bird, a fire type, and then later becomes a fighting type. But then like loses the flying type, and it feels like it should have all three. So it's a little weird. But we save Birch because he asked so nicely, and he wanted to interrupt our vacation with, you know, just some adventure. I never wanted this, I wanted a vacation, but here we are. If I recall, in the actual Pokemon Adventure anime, the manga, our character who traded in his stupid backwards hat for a headband actually had a really strained relationship with his father, which actually made it quite interesting. Now, we have to name our Torchic, and I think I know exactly what we're going to name it. So here we go on our adventure with our Torchic drumsticks. I don't really want to go meet May. I mean, I've already done that. Fine, whatever. Now, unlike other Pokemon games that I've played where I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted from my team, this one, I got a bit of a plan anyway. Because every time I play this game, I have like the same go-to 3. And then after that, I'm pretty open to whatever else. But we might have to hang around an early area for a lucky encounter. Very early on, there's like one random thing around here we could add, at least for now. But this is Zigzagoon. If you're not familiar, this is the new version of basically Rattata. Now, Zigzagoon actually has a pretty cool ability, and that's another thing that was added into this game was abilities, because everything like has a passive effect now, which is cool. But Zigzagoons is basically like every step you have a 1% chance of randomly getting an item. And that's kind of cool. Alright, we will fight May because that's just how she is. She's super friendly, so she has to fight us. Also, I'm not sure what the transitions from fighting are. My recording equipment doesn't seem to like that very much, and I apologize for that, but I've been trying to fix that. I think that's a problem on OBS's end. That's actually the reason why I haven't done any, like, Genesis reviews, so if anyone actually knows OBS way better than me, you know, feel free to let me know in the comments. Because I've been trying to figure that out for a while. I think we're going to lose this because that was nonsense. But I'm pretty sure you're allowed to lose to May anyway, which is fine. Oh no, we lost. Actually, I didn't grab the potion at start. I should have done that. Oh well. Huh. Nope, can't lose to her. Interesting. It's not like the first actual rival battle in the original, where you actually could lose. I think the second one you could actually lose as well. So this is interesting. I think it's kind of funny that like your first match against your rival who's like just a friend is a mandatory win. That's just a little strange. Okay, this is Wurmple. This is like the new Caterpie and Weedle. But it evolves into two potential evolutions after this, and I have never been able to discern what decides what the evolution will be. Because it can either become like a cocoon for a butterfly or one for a moth, and it seems entirely random what it is. I think it's predetermined when you catch it what it is, or like on its appearance, but I do not know what exactly is the dictating factor, and I've tried to figure it out. But we're hoping not to get drumsticks too high leveled right off, because we're gonna have to do some leveling for something else nearby eventually if we're going to actually go through and get some monsters I really want early at the start. But I think we're gonna get Pokeballs pretty much as soon as we beat May. I'm gonna go to the Pokemon Center just in case I embarrassingly lose again. It'll save us a walk. But I do have a level advantage now, so as long as she doesn't get a crit, we're okay. The very dapper gentleman to our left is, I believe, a guy you can tell a secret password to, and he opens up a thing for, I think, mystery presents or something. I remember there being a picture of him and like a guide for it in the manual back when I first owned this game. Now it's interesting because a lot, and by a lot I mean like pretty much every Game Boy Advance game now, but especially the Pokemon games online, if you want one of these, chances are they either cost an absolute fortune or they are a fake cartridge that doesn't work. And I say that as someone who actually bought a couple of those fake cartridges that just don't work for a birthday present for myself, like back when I was in high school. And they either out of the box didn't work, or it would be like years and years and years of wear, and then they'd stop working. But they tended to be really crappy, and nowadays it's really hard to tell. I've got a couple of like actual pirate Pokemon carts that are legitimately good quality. For what they are, anyway. So it might be, at this point, just as easy to get a pirate cart, and it might be as reliable. But certainly, the early generations of these from like 10 years ago, they were just abysmal. We have Focus Energy. That's an ability I've never bothered using. I think we can run to Wingull in this route, which is actually one of the better ones you can get early on because it's flying and water, and it offers like some typing difference. I've never bothered with Wingull myself, but I know it's pretty good typing, especially for early on when pretty much everything you have just is a single type. I fear not your awkward mud scamp, for I have a potion and 2 levels on you, so unless you get a crit, we're okay. I wouldn't be surprised about getting that crit. Alright, there we go. A little embarrassed it took me 2 fights to beat May. But either way, we're here. We can befriend any kind of Pokemon as long as they're in Ruby and don't require trading across versions or other nonsense that's not inherently available to a single player experience. I really don't care for how awkward some of the evolutions in Pokemon are. But we'll make our way back home because we're on vacation. We don't need this adventure nonsense. We're gonna tell Professor Birch that we did his thing and now we're good. So just let us go play GameCube. And go play Pokemon Coliseum. Oh man, I haven't played Pokemon Coliseum in forever. In fact, the only Pokemon Coliseum style game I have is like the original Japanese N64 Pokemon Stadium, which is totally different than the English one. Hey, we got some Pokeballs. Great. We can go catch some stuff. Which is good, because I would like to catch some stuff. I would like some cute monsters. Now, as a great example, since we're here, I mentioned abilities. We'll just take a look at ours. So abilities in the middle sector under the typing, and our current ability is Blaze, which is ups fire moves in a pinch. Basically, when we're brought into the red for health, we get a bonus to our own elements. In this case, fire. So it's basically a boost onto stabs, which means we need to get a fire move onto our Torchic at some point. But I didn't want. I'm on vacation. I shoved a guy off a cliff to prove I was the very best, like no one ever was. And I know how this series works. There's no one that's gonna beat him in levels, so I've already proven I'm the best. Okay, now this was actually... I did mention there was like a character I wanted to grab, maybe on accident for being here. Poochyena is one of them, because I like Poochyena a little bit. Granted, this isn't one I've mandatorily thought I need on my team. This is just sort of, I'll take it because it's here and I do like it. So this will save us. Plus we can level it a little in the next route, while we're trying to hunt for another Pokemon. Alright, we got Poochyena. Yes, we have to nickname everything. Since it's a boy dog, I know exactly what I'm going to name it. I'm going to name it Garm, because I think that's a cool dog name. Alright, now we can level up Garm, as well as trying to catch the next monster, which will be in the next route. Unfortunately, this is where we're going to have to spend a while. Probably because it's a pretty rare occurrence, and I ideally would like to get a specific one. So yes, I am Mr. Picky Pants, and not to alarm people, but last time I did this, tried to get this one monster, it took like 2 hours. But this is the only route in the game where you can catch this monster. It's also the first time we get to run to a trainer we can fight. That isn't a scripted fight, but just a random trainer hanging out. Calvin with his Zigzagoon. He's got a lame starter. Although level 5 and attack falling is a problem. It's very likely we'll have to swap over to drumsticks. Yea, and verily we will, in fact, swap over to drumsticks. Now, drumsticks included, I kind of have 3 must-have Pokemon on my team. That I've planned anyway. So that at least leaves us with 3 open slots. Possibly 2 if we're really going to keep Garm with us the whole way through. And that's the thing, like, I tend to go with a very focused experience when I play Pokemon Ruby. Like, I never really experiment too much. I'm not sure if I even will here, but there are a couple early available monsters that we might try and get for the rest of our team. I'm not sure yet, but they'll be around the first gym town. Let's go back and heal just so that we can work on upping Garm's abilities a little better. Restore! Alright. We've got our monsters cloned. It's time to head back out into the field. Alright. Oh good, bug monsters. That means we're fighting Wurmples. Now, this is something I shit on Generation 2 Pokemon a lot that this game doesn't deal with, and that is, there is basically zero overlap between previous generations monsters and this one's. It gives you basically 150 new monsters to try and catch, which is pretty good. And none of them are the old ones. I know the 4th generation did something kinda similar in that you could go after the older ones, but not unless you encountered literally all of the new ones in some capacity, and that seems a bit stringent, but I do kind of like just using nothing but new ones. I care not for that critical hit. Alright, we took that Wurmple out. Good work. Nope. We're gonna keep Garm out here, but we're then gonna swap over to Drumsticks to finish off this fight. Just because Garm really does need the levels. That said, I don't like the idea of Drumsticks getting too far ahead. I'm definitely of the opinion your monsters need to be leveled kind of in the same general area. You don't want to have too big a variance in levels, or else you end up with monsters on your team that are basically completely worthless. Alright. Good work, Drumsticks. Okay, now I think we still have like 2 more trainers to fight on this route. And likewise, because we are spending the time basically trying to level our monsters, we kind of have to heal in between. Especially because it's early and we don't really have any typing coverage or anything. It also doesn't hurt that our monsters are single elements. But honestly, right now, I'm just racking my brain for every potential thing we could add to our party later on. And there's a lot. Okay, this is a new feature. New-ish. This existed previously, but there are berries you can take. This is similar to Gen 2, but unlike Gen 2's, the bush disappears afterwards, and you have to replant them. Now, that works great in theory, except these games are bugged from the start, and unless you get a downloadable patch, which was available from a different Pokemon game altogether to fix it, after a certain period of time, they stop coming back. And I find that to be just a giant waste of time, so we're not going to bother too much with that. We will gather berries, because they might be useful in the future. Mine's faster! And that's what's important. Let's attack up. It's sort of like the opposite of Growl, really. But like Growl, using it can be quite useful, but if you still don't act with that buff, it's just a waste. So I'm just gonna, yeah, there we go. Nice work. Tylo, however that's pronounced. It's a swallow monster. And I do believe it's just a pure flying type, which actually makes it, at this point, still kind of inferior to Wingull, seeing as you can get one really early that would also give you water affinity, which gives you some advantages. Although it gives you 4 times electric weakness, so there is disadvantages as well. Now again, you can debuff me all you like, but unless you actually want to act on that with some sort of physical aggression, you're not going to do very much to me, sir. Oh, there you go. Hey, crit. Nice. But you're still done. And I'll take a level, sure. Take that, Alan. Your Tylo might have been the top 1% of all Tylos, but, no. Ah, crap, we're gonna have to fight her as well. Go back and heal. Because leveling. It's a thing you gotta do early on. At least until you get more monsters, which is what we're trying to do. Here, just clone my monsters so that we can get back out in the field. Oh man, this game is so pretty. This game was such a huge visual improvement from the past 2 generations. I love its visuals so much. Like, the opening, and just like, from the opening, like the drop of water falling off the leaf, something about that will always stick with me as being one of the most pretty things I've ever seen in games. I love the opening to Pokemon Ruby. And like, there's a moment where you can see like a ripple effect on the water, like wind is pushing against it. Something about that really made me think this is like a whole new... It was like a visual game changer to me. I was so excited when this game first came out. I think I was in like probably either the second or last year of junior high, but you know, I felt like I was a little too old for Pokemon at that point, but this game still, it captured my heart immediately. Now what was great about it was I actually got this, not this cartridge, my original cartridge was stolen, but I got my original Pokemon Ruby as sort of a thing to keep me preoccupied for a long cross-country trip in the car. And I remember just the moment my car pulled away from my house, I immediately turned it on and I did not stop until I got to the second gym. And I just ran around just catching everything, because I was just absolutely enamored with this game. And you know, I think even today this is probably my favorite Pokemon. And I know stuff like Pokemon Emerald has more stuff in it, but I still think this one is the best, and there's a reason for that. But right now I won't go too far in depth into it. Once it becomes relevant, I'll bring it up. But it'll be a little while yet, I think. Alright. And that should be all the problems we have to deal with up to the third town. Now, unfortunately, we have to deal with something else. But before we do, water reflections. Game changer. I love this game so much. Alright, we're at the Pokemon Center to set our spawn point on the unlikely chance we get knocked out in battle. And now we gotta go back to the previous route and just wander around the grass for like 2 hours. Awesome. Actually, before we do that, I'm just gonna buy some more Pokeballs just in case. I will buy 10. Whoops. Oh well. Yeah, I was gonna buy 10 and get the special one. Now I bought 10 and didn't get the special one because I'm dumb. Because numbers are hard for me. I think the best area to kind of grind for monsters here is this patch of grass right here, because it's like the most continuous. There's a Zigzagoon. I don't mind fighting, as long as we don't get too many levels. Silly Zigzagoon. I can only do so much if you don't actually attack me. And you'll have to attack me quite a few times to take me out. So I'm not really afraid of you. Alright, level 7. Nice. We are making some progress. Oh, Seedot. This is... I don't care much for Seedot. You could consider him kind of like the equivalent to Oddish, basically. And the other version has a different one, which is... what was it? Lotad, which was like a water grass type, whereas this one is, I believe, a pure grass type. So it doesn't feel quite like a fair trade-off. But I don't care much for either of them. Wurmple. I will never understand your mysteries, Wurmple. It doesn't matter because my puppy can crush you. And so he shall. By ramming his face into you continuously. You know, going from Crystal to this, I have to say, I kind of miss the intro animations and stuff. I don't know why they removed it. It's weird. Wurmple. But, I'm not sure if the previous ones did it quite to the same effect, but I think now is sort of the time where they cemented in the mentality that every area needs to have like at least one rare monster show up. That's like a 5% chance of showing up. Which is kind of annoying. Especially if you actually like those monsters, because I do sometimes. But I'm trying to think, really, what do I want to do with my team? Because potentially we've got 3 spare spots. And I'm not really sure how to balance them out properly. Like, there's like a normal type I've never used that could be interesting, but I want to stay away from normal types. There's of course like not 1 but 2 dragons I could potentially get. That could be interesting. I know there's, I think, a grass type later on, which is a pretty interesting monster to use. I think a steel type later on that could be a fun little addition, because I do like the steel types. And yes, there is in fact, and this may shock you, a bug type that kind of interests me. So we've got options. Not to mention there's like 2 fossils we could go get if we want to do the bonus stuff. I don't really aspire to do the optional stuff to actually use the legendaries or anything. I might do them, but the problem with the legendaries in this game is there's like a bunch of hoops to jump through that are just stupid. Like, you have to get a monster that you have to train all the way up to like level 50 or catch as like a 1% encounter rate that I've never actually encountered in the wild. Plus you have to get something else that's like a 5% encounter rate, and it's like, oh. And the legendaries, they're not great. They're okay, but not great. But at least this game embraces steel types a little better, because there are actual pure steel types in this game. 2 of them, in fact. Oh no! Although, what's really sad is, this game has no Eevees. Ergo, we have to go Eevee-less for the first time in our career as the very best, like no one ever was. And I'm not sure I can handle that. I feel like I need to have an Eevee now. I mean, hell, I'm currently wrapping myself in a blanket covered in Eevees because I'm suddenly an Eevee trainer, because reasons. But you know, I miss Luna. People may make fun of her for not being an Espeon, but man, did she kick a lot of ass. And she saw us through a lot of hardships. She did, she did. Hey, a Poochyena. I think this is a harder to find encounter around this time too. Tackle. Oh, now see, this is the problem. If we're looking for a specific thing to catch around here, if we get a crit on it, there's a good chance it will be dead. And I don't want that. I prefer very much to actually catch it and not murder it. But this was also completely, entirely connected to what we're doing right now. This was the game that really made me respect psychic types. Because there is a psychic type we're trying to catch right now, and it's kind of a pain to level up right early on, not dissimilarly to, say, catching the Magikarp and trying to turn it into a Gyarados. It takes a while, and it starts with nothing you can actually use, but it ends up becoming one of my favorite monsters. And certainly one of the more useful monsters, I think, because it's one of the best psychic types. Plus it gets even more versatility in the next generation, which is one of the few things I like about next generation. It has a callback to a monster I really like. We've already got 1/3 of the sort of team I've considered to be mandatory for our success. We've got a extra little add-on member to our team that I think is going to work out just fine with us. So I think we're doing okay so far. Alright, let's take out this Zigzagoon because I do not care for your Rattata nonsense. You know what really sucks is there's an NPC we have to deal with very shortly in the next town that, through scripted events, runs instantly into the monster we're trying to catch right now. And it's like, okay. Calm down, buddy. You show off. C-Dot has Bide, which, as we've established, is like the most useless move ever. But yeah, I'll take 3 free turns of just wailing on you, why not? Another Zigzagoon! It's a lady Zigzagoon. I think it was next generation that added the gender nonsense, which like made monsters visibly different depending on their gender. I don't think that was this one. Although I could tell you if we ran into something that I knew specifically that applied to. But right now, I'm not running into anything like that. But on the bright side, at least we're bringing our team up. I figure if we, at the furthest possible chance of success, have to get both our monsters up to level 10, that would probably be the end of it. We should run into it by then, even if it is a rare encounter. But it's the encounters that kind of make me dislike Emerald more than Ruby. Because there's a specific monster in Ruby that I quite like, and it's also in Emerald, which is nice. But it doesn't show up until the end of the game in Emerald, which kind of defeats the purpose of using it. And that's part of the reason why I dislike Emerald so much. It's like, yes, you've got extra stuff, but something I consider mission critical to actually beating this game isn't available to the end when it's lost any sort of value to me. I can't have had it in my team. I can't have gone on an adventure with it. Built it up. It become my true friend by putting it to sleep and poisoning it and then throwing it and cramming it into a little ball. Like every game recommends you do, because that's how you prove you're a good friend. Alright, Garm leveled. Hey, Sand Attack. Nice. I will throw that on there. Level up Drumsticks a little more. And then we don't have to go to the Pokemon Center just as soon. C-Dot. You really just want me to take a C-Dot, don't you, game? I think C-Dot requires a trade to level up too. It's either that or it's like one of the obscure stones that you have to just sort of mash in its face and hope for the best. But again, it's not a monster I've really ever considered using. I know it can be quite useful, but it's just not one I want. Wurmple! Now, what would you evolve into, Mr. Wurmple? Or Miss Wurmple? Would you become a Miss Wurmple that becomes a butterfly or a moth? What secrets do you hold? And how does one tell? Truly, the world may never know. Or even the greatest Pokemon trainer of all time is at a loss. I ran into another one who's a male this time, who might turn something different. I mean, if I had to guess, I imagine it's based on, like, their random values based on your own random value or whatever. But that basically just means it's random. And even if you know what those values are, and you can predict it, basically, you might as well just catch a bunch and hope for the best. And I don't know why you'd want to do that. Aside from, again, trying to catch everything to prove you are the very best. Like no one ever was. Well, we've already done that twice. We don't need to do it again. We're here on vacation. Apparently we're pest controlling because reasons. Drumsticks is hungry. He needs worms. Zigzagoon! I will say, unlike Rattata, Zigzagoon actually has kind of a cool evolution. No Pikachus will be appearing. They are not allowed in Hoenn. They're foreign fauna. And as established, Hoenn is very strict about their flora and fauna. That's why we can't have our old team with us while we're here on vacation. And why I'm sad about that. Oh, come on. Oh, well, if the Pikachu is you, I guess you're allowed then. Alright, Drumstick's leveled. And learned a fire attack, so now we can actually take advantage of its ability. We should probably swap back to Garm to level him up. I think Garm's ability, since I didn't look at that, is... yeah, it's Run Away, which means you're guaranteed to run, which is not super useful. Fortunately, when it levels up, it learns a new ability, which is Intimidate, which, upon a monster entering battle, loses attack power. And while it sounds like such a small thing, because it doesn't take a turn and because it's just automatic, it's actually quite useful. I already have one. I'm using it right now. Oh, well, I'm glad that you're here. I'm feeling a little under the weather. Got rained on a lot last night. I'm doing some chores. Fortunately, the thunder's cleared up at least. So I don't have to worry about a lot of loud noise or anything. And also it's 5:30 in the morning, so there's not really anyone up to make noise. So it's kind of nice. Plus I get to play Pokemon Ruby, which is my favorite. Fortunately, we're sitting here trying to get one of my favorite monsters, which is not my favorite. Because random number generation sucks. Alright. It's another Wurmple. My opinion on the newest Pokemon? I don't really know much about it. I know it exists, I know it's on the Switch. And if it's anything like Eevee, it'll probably be enjoyable. But I don't know anything about it. Really, I haven't looked into it. I'll probably play it eventually, though. Ah, that was mean, C-Dot. But to be fair, you used Bide. I'll use Ember. It's a sheep with braids. That sounds like a character from, what was it? Octopath Traveler. There was a huntress lady who looked like a sheep with braids, basically. And she played like Pokemon. She had to capture monsters and stuff and use them against enemies. It was interesting. Wooloo. I'm gonna just say I'm betting that Mareep, Fluffy, and Ampharos are better sheep monsters just because they're my favorites from that entire generation. Okay, I'm genuinely getting afraid of just destroying something at this point, so we're just gonna run from fights now, I think. And if we don't run into it in like the next 10 minutes, I'll probably call it and we'll try again next week. And if we don't get it within like maybe 15 minutes of then, we'll probably just move on without it. And I'll be sad forever because I didn't get my psychic type of awesome. But I don't think I've ever actually made a run through Pokemon Ruby without, and I don't really want to start now because it was awesome. Stupid Zigzagoon. Oh, come on, you stupid 5% encounter rate. Encounter properly. I'm reminded very much of our time trying to catch a Nidoran at the start of Pokemon Red. It took like an hour. Unfortunately, I think the encounters with the specific monster we're looking for too is like level 2. I'm terrified of just throwing a Pokeball at it, but I think a level 9 might murder it. Here's another Poochyena. But mine's better. Oh, how I wish I had status affliction that didn't involve instantly killing and getting really lucky like Ember. If I had something that induced sleep, that would be really useful right about now. The structure of this game is really interesting too, because the first gym you run into, you can't actually do anything with until like the latter half of the game. You just have to kind of leave. And it's interesting because it kind of sets up a great sort of antagonistic force that you have to deal with eventually that you're working towards. Because they make out like Norman to be like this great trainer who he uses normal types. He's not that great, but you know, they make him out to be like this awesome super trainer that you could potentially run into super early, but you can't because he's too good. He tells you to come back later. It's a bit of a weird setup. I'm on vacation. I'm not here to cull the local worm population. Worms are too useful for the world. They make things better in the garden. Provided they're not eating the leaves off of everything. Still, I'm not sure what to do for the rest of my team. I'm thinking about starting that up and playing with Coco again sometime in the middle of the week, provided I don't run into a lot of time confliction. Because I did plan on finishing that right around the time I started doing this, but this got pushed pretty far. I mean, I planned on doing this back in February, but here we are, like 3 months later. Oh, this is the Nidoran fights all over again. There we go. Okay, now we have to be real careful not to murder this thing. I don't know how to do that. Well, I mean, what I could do, just to save us all some time, screw it. We're save stating just in case. Howl won't do anything, it'll just raise my attack, which will make us deal more damage and potentially murder this thing. Which we don't want to do. There we go. Okay, we should be good now. But thanks to the ability of the RF, I can just save state. Which I don't normally condone, but given how much time this is going to save, it's better for us. There we go. Okay, we can move on now. So this is Ralts. This is one of my favorite monsters because it becomes Gardevoir and Gallade, two of my later favorite monsters, and the monster that actually gave me a lot of respect for psychic types. Even though its abilities are a little weird, it gets 2. It is a lady, so I'm gonna go with my go-to Ralts name, which is Lilith, because I think it's a pretty name. And her ability is Trace. Now, there's actually 2 abilities it can learn, and a lot of people say they're both kind of garbage, but I've seen value in both. Trace basically means it copies other abilities. So let's say she was fighting Blaze. The ability it traces is basically completely useless for her, because what it would mean is that instead of having Trace for that fight, it would suddenly have Blaze, which requires fire moves and to be in critical condition. It also has Synchronize, which is potentially more or less useful depending on the situation. Basically what that does is, if it's hit with any sort of status affliction, it will apply that status affliction to the person who attacked it. So if we were fighting, like, say, a Pikachu, which I don't think ever actually happens in this game, and it used Thunder Wave and paralyzed her, Pikachu then would also be paralyzed. And that could be potentially useful if you're fighting something that uses a lot of status afflictions. Trace can be useful for fighting things that have other potentially useful abilities that are passive. Like, again, how I said that my Poochyena can eventually learn Intimidation, which instantly debuffs attack of whatever opponent it goes up against. If it learned that at the start of the battle, everything it fought would then later take a hit to its own attack. Passively. And that can actually have a great deal of value. Now, this is Wally. He's kind of also your rival. This is something this game decided to do too, is you need more than one rival. But don't worry, they're both your friends because reasons. He gets a Zigzagoon because Norman is a normal trainer, because reasons. But now we have to go learn how to catch Pokemon, because we're some spaz who hasn't done that ever before, or even on the way here. It's weird that they give you Pokeballs early, but teach you how to use them later. But this is Wally. This is his first encounter. Oh look, it's the rare monster that's a 5% chance of ever showing up. Thanks, Wally. Now, fun fact, like I said, this guy is so incredibly lucky. It's a scripted fight, so no, he's not, but, you know, seeing him fight Ralts, like, the first time I played this, I thought Ralts wasn't actually available here, and this was just like a dumb scripted thing. No, this is the only place you can get it. It's just rare. But when I saw him catch Ralts, I immediately just stuck around here trying to catch one myself, just because I thought, you know, it's such a neat looking monster. And it looks like it would turn into something really cool. Because it's like, you know, it starts out as a toddler, and then becomes like a ballet dancer. Which I think is interesting, but it's a really powerful psychic type as well. But this is Wally's starting monster. Not that I'm jealous at all or anything. It's not like it's one of my top 10 favorite monsters or anything. Except it is twice. So yeah, Wally's stupidly lucky. Okay, so yeah, there's kind of a subplot where he's super sickly and has to go to another town to somehow get healed by mountain air, because that's a thing that happens. That said, I do understand that air, depending on the quality and where you're from, can actually have health benefits, but, you know, if you're in that bad a situation as they kind of imply Wally to be, I don't think mountain air is going to help that much. But I digress. That's Mountain. That's Wally's whole situation. He's your other rival. I think you fight him once, way at the end of the game, and until then you just sort of run into each other every now and then, and they kind of just say, no, really, he's your rival. Also, reflections in the water, because game changer. Oh, there's so much about this game that I think is pretty. Yes, I'm Fury. He's frail and sickly. We sent him away. Even though, you know, No, he left on his own, even though he doesn't really get any better until way later. Now, I think if it's similar to later games... Yeah, right now all Lilith has is Growl, which means she's going to be entirely worthless. Like I said, it's not dissimilar to starting with a Magikarp. So, we're going to have to do some unfortunate trading off of combatants just to gain a little bit of experience. I will say, I've been playing this one Pokemon fan hack I got recently on cart, and unfortunately I got it bugged out, so I'm going to have to start over. But, now, see, Chlorophyll, that would be really useful if she knew something like, say, Solar Beam. So there's a lot of situational use to it, but it can be quite useful. But, I've been playing this Pokemon fan hack, that I'm going to have to start over again. And one of the first things they do is when they give you your starting monster, they also give you an experience share. Which means that you can basically avoid this entire situation by just slapping it on your lowest level monster to always have them catch up. And I think that's an interesting idea, and I kind of wish Pokemon did that, like official Pokemon. Because experience share tends to be like an obscure thing. You tend to have to work really hard to get around. Sometimes it's not even worth it by the time you get it, but... You know, to get it from the start, considering that your starter always starts at like level 5, and the weakest things around you always tend to be like level 3, you know, it would just make sense to have one of those from the start. But, alas, it is not the case. Oh, Seedot, I think you're dumb. And down you go. About to use a Tylo. We'll throw good old Lilith back out there. I think at level, I want to say either 7 or 8, she learns Confusion, which doesn't do a lot of damage, but potentially can leave your opponent confused. So it does have a lot of value to it. Although the odds are, I want to say something like 1 in 5, so like 20% or so. It's not great until you get, like, Psychic, but if I recall, you can get Psychic actually pretty early in this game. Granted, last time I played this game was probably, oh gosh, maybe 10 years ago. Which is kind of sad, considering this is my favorite one. Wow, you got a crit on me, that's unfortunate. But... I'm not gonna throw you back out. Go get him, Drumsticks! Use your power of stab and burn it! I don't think that attack will affect Ember. I think Ember is special. Alright. Cool. Take that, Billy. Hey, maybe it's Billy Blaze. Maybe he'll go try and save the world from Martian attacks on his pogo stick, now that we've bested him in Pokemon. That'd be pretty cool. Oh man, I gotta play some Commander Keen sometime. Alright. Let's head out once again, because I would very much like to buff my Poochyena up to level 20, or 20. That would be a nice buff. But no, we want to get him to level 10, of course. Oh! I wonder too. It's not like we'll be learning that at any point, though. Now, this is Mr. Briny's cottage. Let's go talk to him. He seems like a cool guy. Aw, Mr. Briny's not here. Oh well. I'm sure that won't ever be relevant to us, ever. He seems like a wonderful person. I will take the Pitcha berry. Also, all the berries, for some reason, are named after basically actual fruit and vegetables that are just, like, misspelled. So basically, they're all Saiyans. Oh, this guy. Okay, this guy is awesome. He's one of the paltry handful of people you can refight. And the neat thing about refights in this game is their monsters actually get better. Like, they can evolve, they can get higher levels, they can get new abilities. It's great. Like he says, he's a rich boy. He gives you a lot of money every single time you fight him. Ooh, defense fell, that could be a problem. But I have levels. And I mean, unless you get a crit and take me out in one hit, which, I mean, let's, you know, knock on wood, hope that doesn't happen. Oh, I see how it is. You're just trying to make this fight take as long as possible. That's fine. Like I said at the top, you know, if you don't actually do some damage to me, it's not gonna matter. Okay. Yep, he's a rich kid. He uses a full restore on a level 7 monster. That is obnoxious more than anything, but we will persevere. This is really going to drain all of my PP, isn't it? If you have another full restore, I'm going to just smack you, Winston. I think you deserve that at that point. I don't think his Zigzagoon actually has an attack. That's peculiar. But he's done anyway. Alright, experience. You couldn't win because you didn't actually attack. Now that's pretty good for a single guy. And what's great is I'm pretty sure his Zigzagoon also carries a nugget. And there's an item that, or there's an attack that lets you steal items later on. So you can just grind the crap out of money from this guy. Alright. And here we are in Petalburg Woods. And I think that will be it for today. Played for about an hour. We got 3 monsters, plus one of them happens to be really rare, and 2 of them are at least permanent members on my team, I think. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, follow the stream to know when we do this. It should be on a weekly basis, again, provided we don't have any problems with recording this. This could be a consistent issue. Hopefully not, though. Plus, there's, you know, daily Animal Crossing streams and anything else when I have time. Hopefully there will be more instances of that in the future. You might also want to check out my YouTube channel to see everything else I do, which is a lot of stuff. And if you really want to make my day, check out the show's PayPal or Patreon. Support the show any way you can so that I can continue to get games to, you know, do stuff with games. Plus, you get yourself on the Discord where we can talk about awesome things like getting a Ralts, and less awesome things like that jerk Wally getting a Ralts instantly on, like, the first time he steps into grass. Yeah, that's not gonna just frustrate me forever, stupid Wally. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Peace out, Internet.